Okie dokes. Welcome back. I don't really know what I'm going to talk about, but I've been thinking about my format, and I think I'm going to continue doing these long form, just me rambling, because I can't help it. And if you are going to hang around for these extremely long videos, then welcome. But rest assured, I am also going to do cut downs of these videos. I've done a little bit of reorganization of my channel. It's doing okay, I think. Thank you very much for the new subscribers. I've got 22 new watchers who thought that my content is valuable enough for your time. So it's, I'm incredibly grateful to you for contributing to my channel and for becoming part of a community where we all help each other out. So I've got a few things that I've done just on the channel. I've done a little bit of organization. So if I go to content, I have sort of renamed some of my videos. So I've got NotebookLM. I've sort of standardized some of the naming. I've added little dashes. I've made a couple of playlists now. So I have my animations playlist and my workflows playlist. And what else have I done? I have been doing just a bit of a fun little challenge here. It's for the Google Discord. And if I go to the Discord channel, which I don't know if I'm strictly allowed to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I go to Flow Challenges. They do a weekly challenge, which I don't know if it's actually a week, because this has been here since, when did they actually post it? May 23rd, that can't be right. I feel like that this challenge has been here a bit longer than just like 3 days. So I started, it feels like I actually started this challenge like 2 weeks ago, and I stopped. But I decided to sort of pick it up again and have a play with it. But this time, so it was already sort of in progress, so you're kind of dropping into this workflow or this project halfway through. And last night I stayed up a little bit too late, irresponsibly late, just playing around with the agent mode, where I'm actually getting quite conversational with it. And I'm testing the new Omni as well. In fact, the agent sort of decides on which model to actually render with. And it'll sometimes just generate an image, which is a really good reference. And then once I say, okay, this is looking good, after I've made some edit changes, then it decides to render a video. It usually just defaults to whatever I set here in the agent settings. And I always make sure to have the always ask for confirmation before generating media. And I'm going to do a little demonstration of how I've been using the agent in this capacity. Some other topics that I want to discuss as well are the fact that I decided to actually downgrade my Ultra subscription, and I'm a little bit hesitant to go all the way down to Pro AI, but I'm deciding to expand my model exposure or ecosystem. And so I have last night also signed up for Higgsfield, and I've been looking at the interface and looking at the sort of options and how it works and what it all looks like. It's a little bit much to take in, I'll be honest. There's a lot going on this website. It looks like it's fairly well developed, but it also is crazy messy, as opposed to the Flow kind of interface that you get, which is just, but if I go to my projects here, then you can kind of see, you know, it just gives you a nice clean interface, very simple. If I go to my current one, there it is, which I call Google Flow Challenges. Then this is kind of my little play area where I play around with my current Google challenge. And this is kind of going back to what I was saying in another video, where For me, it's good to have my own projects, but it's also good just to have a project that someone else kind of dictates for you. And on the Flow webpage, which I can't really show you too much of because of policies and blah, 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 just having a little sort of challenge where people can upload a clip or an image based on the challenge of the week. Obviously, we're a little bit precious about our tokens. We don't want to waste tokens on doing just stuff that doesn't really go anywhere. But for me, it's twofold. It's a little challenge just to test things. It gives me a reason to muck around, have a little pick at things, find problems, flaws, that kind of stuff. Coming back to why I decided to downgrade my plan, I found that the new Omni model, as I mentioned in my first uncut sort of testing of Omni, it caught me flat-footed, and the changes were significant enough that it changed a lot about my ability to create. But I got to the end of my tether when I was getting a lot of hallucinations, a lot of problem renders, a lot of basic setups, and ultimately, actually, there was an issue with Google's policies, policy violations. So I probably can't show you too much. I'll flick to the project and the page. It's a little bit murky in terms of what I can show and what I can talk about for non-disclosure agreements. But if I don't play you any sound, I haven't submitted anything for that project. So I am technically in the clear, so long as I don't sort of show you product things and I don't allude to what it is and I don't name brands or things like that. But I decided just to drop that project completely because it took me 3 days to generate 2 really simple scenes, extremely simple setups. And it was so frustrating that when I finally felt like I was starting to get some traction, and I'm like, great, I'm going to start using the agent. The agent actually is pretty good at helping to be your little production hub. I tried rendering literally a guy at a post office trying to mail something in a mailbox, and it just wouldn't do it. It wouldn't do it. And this isn't me slamming or ratting out the Google Omni model. I think it is phenomenal, and I think that there are really good applications for it, and I'm going to continue to explore those. But if I do a count of how many pages, I did this yesterday. If I did a count of how many pages of useful renders I had, like if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, actually, sorry, if I do this on just videos, right? So ignoring the fact that I get like free image renders and free light renders. But if I go to useful stuff, because I trash the stuff, maybe I'm a little bit too critical. Maybe I'm a little bit too much of a perfectionist when it comes to video quality, the little details, the little mistakes that it makes. A lot of the time hallucinations, like if I play you this clip here for the Google Flow Challenge. So this is kind of interesting. It's not, yeah, so here he actually enters into the vehicle. He penetrates the CG of the vehicle model. So that's a no-no, but there is enough of this shot that's useful. And actually I'll talk about my gripe with this shot is that I was trying to get this as essentially a flopped or mirrored inverse version of this shot, right? So our camera is currently on the left side of the driver's shoulder, looking at the dashboard as he's revving his engine. I wanted a camera on the other side of the vehicle, so from the right-hand side of the vehicle, and I wanted to be able to see that thin mirror from the other side, looking to the left side of the vehicle. About 20 failed renders later, maybe more, I just gave up. I'm like, all right, fine. I mean, I got this. It's a close-up. It's not what I wanted. It's less interesting. It tells the story. It's a little bit more clear about the runner being, coming up. But in the edit, which I have here, which I'll mute because it generates music and sound effects and stuff that I just don't really need, because I'm going to rebuild all this later. I've got and God forbid that I should be able to get spinning wheels on this car. Just, for whatever reason, that's just impossible without having to actually change the animation of the shot. But as you can see, the guy gets up and he's preparing to race. And this is kind of fun for me. So I've got my little revving engine. He takes off. The vehicle's maybe a bit small compared to the runner. He's a giant. And he takes off. I've got him running, and that's the portion of the clip that I was able to use. It looks a bit dark compared to the one that I thought I saw in the model. Maybe it's because I was doing lighting changes. And that's actually something pretty fun that the Google Omni model was really good at. Was the original was quite magenta, and this one maybe it's just the retime methodology that I'm using, but it is all pretty much in sync. We've lost the caking of the salt on the wheels of the vehicle. They're a little bit cleaner and more pristine, a little bit plasticky. But if you want to change lights, this one I think kept pretty true. I think that's a really nice improvement to the lighting that it did. It went from like a kind of a flat, almost pristine commercial look with him, the runner, being in silhouette, to something that I just needed golden hour lighting. And I was using the agent to describe all these things. But, and actually I have to say that I need to test this on a project that I do from the very beginning, and sort of build scenes as I go. And so this is kind of almost starting to explore a slightly less technical prompting methodology using the agent here, where I can kind of almost have a bit of a conversation with it. So what I'm doing is if I scroll up, I had a lot of, these are all problems. This is me just revising problems that I'm having, or fixing renders that I did a little while ago, trying to get lighting changes, lighting fixes. So if I go, so it's sort of saying improve. I kind of want to go to one of the first prompts that I said, where I started mucking about with this stuff. Okay, so here was my first prompt in the agent. It said, I need an image of these 3 ingredients. So it's a background image of a landscape, the runner, and the vehicle with the driver of the vehicle. So I need an image of these 3 ingredients. This shot is a rear low angle from behind the race car, traveling at full speed. The camera cranes up, so it rises. I probably should have said rises, revealing the runner ahead, gaining distance between him and the race car. With the driver in the vehicle, need to add golden hour hazy sunset behind the hills of the flat salts. So I'll scroll down, and here you can see its response, the agent response. I'm going to generate the cinematic image of the race car and the runner on the salt flats during a golden hour sunset, using your references for the car, characters, and environments. And so thankfully this was just an image. It costs 0 tokens to create images in Nano Banana, but it's wrong. The composition is 3/4. The sunset, fair enough, is okay. It's not quite what I want, but I can edit that. The runner is running the wrong way. It didn't adhere to the instruction at all, just generated an interpretation of that. So I repeat, I need an image of these 3 ingredients. This shot is a rear low angle, blah, 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 race car. I added more information just to try and hammer the message home. And It generated another image. It's closer to what I asked for. At least they're traveling in the right direction, but again, not really what I asked for. It's got the driver to the left of the vehicle. In fact, I did say, you know, he is positionally 2 meters to the left of the vehicle, but he should be sort of getting further away. So I think, I can't remember what I did there. I think I just gave up on that bit for a minute, and I just went, I'll just go to something else. So I started looking through some other renders, and that magenta shot of the guy running, which I recolored, regraded, not that. And that's another failed render. The vehicle is driving backwards there. It should be driving forwards. Here, it's added the Shell logo on the vehicle, which Google, if you're going to stick me for privacy violations regarding a random dude trying to mail a postcard, then you might want to look into the fact that you're putting Nike logos and Shell logos on vehicles. That's, I'm sure, a breach of policy using company logos like that. So this one here was the one where I said I'm going to generate. The image is too golden, needed to reference the lighting from this shot. So I actually gave it the lighting as a reference. So it did that. I generated the image with the cold blue hour lighting and golden rim highlights as you requested. Let me know if that's the right mood. So actually, I think I was pretty happy with that. But as you can see in the corner here, I don't know if I click on this. No, it's not there, but it is in the image that it rendered, where there was a little Nike logo, which I have to scroll back up to. So you burned in a Nike logo. I'm sure that's a legal no-no to do that sort of stuff. However, on that point, I do think it is important to be able to put logos and branding on there, because some of us are trying to actually use your technology for commercial purposes. You know, there is a future here where we are going to be making products for companies and selling them, and influencers are going to be adding these logos. Maybe they're wearing just, you know, a different outfit, and they'll just say, hey, I got, you know, some brief material from a sportswear company, and this is their new apparel, which they haven't released to the public yet, and I want to break the news because they've hired me to promote their product. So they're going to use the Google avatar to make a model of themselves in the park or whatever, and they're going to shoot themselves and say, hey, you know, Omni, replace my clothes with a different outfit given to me by this product company. So that's a world that I think that Google is going towards, and one of the reasons why I'm now contemplating downgrading my ecosystem exposure to Google, because my feeling is that they are going for A, social media, B, branding and advertising, because they are basically just pandering to the investors. They're pandering to the people who say, we don't care if you make a good product, we want to see the bottom line, we want to see profits, we want to get money, we want to get rich. And that, in my opinion, is the worst possible direction that a company can go in, is appeasing your investors. If you have a good product and if you have a true message, Google's motto used to be, don't be evil, and now you're going corporate. And look, I'm not going to blame Google for, you know, basically being a massive tech giant and following this path, but you know, you're kind of leaving the creators and the little people who have passionate storytelling behind. You're ignoring them. With that said, I'm not giving up on Google. I am a super fan. I do love them, and I'm going to try to persevere and see what it is that they can come up with. I mean, maybe their vision is that they want to engage in a different kind of storytelling, not cinematic, because I think the other competitors, the other models are sort of excelling in that. And it comes back to the legals, the privacy policies, the policy violations, the laws of certain countries. So some models that originate from different countries maybe are trained on different material. Maybe they're a little bit more relaxed about what material they're trained on. And so therefore it's easier for them to provide better filmmaking, cinematography tools and models. Things that are a little bit more dynamic. Google VO Omni is meant to be the absolute top tier best cinematic model there is, but it's just failing on its cameras, its motion, its dynamism, its energy. If I want a high speed, high kinetic action shot, it's slow motion. Why is it slow motion? Now, I don't sort of mind that in the fact that how is this dude running as fast as an F1 race car? It's more believable than the hyperspeed trick photography that they do in movies, where you just see every. Yeah, I mean it's a mix. But if you look at The Flash in the DC comic books, then everything kind of goes into bullet time. Boom, everything slows down, and he's moving normally. That's essentially what it's doing here. Is okay. So this guy is running at a normal human speed, and we've slowed down the spinning of the tires of the F1 racer. And so I don't mind that, but there are times where I ask for something that has to be like a high-speed car, and it just doesn't do it. It just does it slow-mo. It doesn't. The action's not continuous. It slows down. It stops. It drives backwards. It does all kinds of weird things. So where am I? So that kind of brings me to one little Easter egg idea that I had. Let's call it an epiphany or a spark of inspiration, in which I think that there is a possible exploit and a possible method for getting those cinematic camera moves and the energy that I need from VO. And when my internet finally stops synchronizing my ridiculously stupid Google Drive data, I'm going to make a video demonstrating, testing. Sorry, I won't say demonstrating because it might fail. But I'm going to test that idea, that concept, in a future video that I think could possibly, if it works, change the way that we're able to make cinematic, dynamic, high-energy, kinetic films in VO. And that will, if it works, that will put VO, Omni, on my top list, so the top of my list. But currently I've lost confidence in Omni and its ability to do what I want it to do. I'm still going to play and tinker with it. I still think that there is a utility and a use case for it, and I think that it's still capable of producing good quality. And I think it's a case of, what is it good for? And that brings me to another thing that I'm going to discuss in this incredibly long format, which I promise you I will cut down and break into chunks for you, into different categories. It'll be a bit choppy. So I talked about how I'm kind of using the agent to edit my videos, but also to create new videos as I go along constructing the scene. And this is something that I think it comes from a process that I'm fairly familiar with called previsualization, where you're given an action scene for a project, a movie, a TV show, a commercial, and you get a bunch of animators that do this Rockstar Games quality CG action scene that's real world space, and what you do is you put together the scene, and sometimes if you're lucky you'll get storyboards, and if you're even luckier you'll get script pages, and with all that information you get a tone, an energy, and you cut together an animatic, a storyboard sequence. And the problem with a storyboard sequence or an animatic is you're looking at pictures. Let me see if I can just pull up an example of just let's say a storyboard page on the web, so that I can just explain it better. Okay. I don't know if this is the official story. No, it definitely isn't, because I've seen the originals. Hold on, let me get out of this. Okay, I found something on Pinterest. I vaguely remember seeing them, at least the originals, the motorcycle mirror shot. I thought I saw that rendered in color, but it's not inconceivable to look at these as potentially the original storyboards. So I think the quality probably looks about right for being the originals. So the thing with the storyboard, and you'll remember this from the movie, is when Trinity and Neo walk into the white office building. Well, no, they weapon up in a virtual world where they just grab all the machine guns and ammunition from a virtual armory, and then they walk into this office building and just have this massive shootout where they just obliterate all the concrete, and it's a really cool scene. But the problem that we have with storyboards is that you get jumps in time, and you don't see the time pass in the shot. You have to it's basically like using Google the Flash, the VO Flash model as a start and end frame ingredient. And that's a really cool device to be able to use if you can draw, and if you can kind of make the composition that you want. Depends on how detailed you want to get with it. I think that might be an interesting use case for someone who can draw sketches, like really quick sort of storyboard sketches, use a start frame, end frame, give it a style reference of some characters that you want. Put it into Omni and say, hey, here's my first, or maybe Google Flash start and end frames, and say, hey, render me this animation. And that might be a really cool way to go. What I'm getting at is that when you read a comic, when you look at storyboards, your mind is really good at filling in the gaps of a story. You can infer, you can tell where the story's going based on the images, and all you need is one image. Like that saying, an image tells 1,000 words. But if I were to crop these out and put them into a timeline in story order, it would jump around a lot, and that you'd immediately see where the gaps in the story are. You'd immediately see that it doesn't have a flowing narrative. And so, again, coming back to that method of, you have the storyboards, you have the script fills in dialogue, so those bits in between, that might fill some of those gaps. It might give you a little bit more of a sense of, what they're actually doing. Because a storyboard artist is not going to give you every single setup and frame that you need to tell that story. They're going to give you the key shots and moments that are the filtered down absolute moments of that story. And so what we do, let's say in animation, is then, and especially if you have a person that is really good at creating sort of a visual narrative of, which starts with your screen direction and kind of leads you through a scene. It's visual storytelling of a certain kind. There's many layers to the visual storytelling and methodologies, but you know, you're establishing where you're coming from, where you're getting to during all of this chaos, and how that story is told. And so that's essentially the process that I think works really well in generative AI models, is that you'll start with a bunch of ideas, concepts, let's say a script. And I did see that there is a tool here that can take a script and potentially give you your storyboards. There it is, Storyboard Studio. Now, that's something that I should play with, and I should actually do a video on that. And maybe I'll be able to do it while I'm recording today's stuff. I've got a ton to get through today, and I'll probably need to start trickling out the smaller videos, the cut downs as I go. But I mean, this tool here, the Storyboard Studio, may be really awesome for taking your script and generating your storyboards. However, I would like to know whether it's going to need more from you, like an asset package. Call it your art department, where you have cast your actors, you've created your characters, you've given them voices, where you've figured out where your locations are. Like, is it happening in a sky-rise building? Is it happening on a UFO ship? Just literally calling out what I see on the screen there. And I don't know, I'll have to get into it. Maybe you guys have already played with this, had a quick glance and just thought maybe I'll try it later, maybe not. But I'll look into it a little bit further, because it might be interesting for you guys. So coming back to the flow, the workflow. Where have I gone? Yeah. So what I generally do is, okay, if I have a script, great. Because that'll help me inform stuff, and I'll start generating the shots. But prompting can be a little bit tricky, and so what I'm thinking about doing is showing you the steps I took to prime a Google gem. And right now I know the current meta is for people to use Claude in a Claude project. Some of them are building, really sophisticated computer scripts and apps that will essentially not automate, but make it less human interactive, and just sort of automate the process of taking like a script in a Claude project. I looked at doing it in a Claude project, and while that's the current meta and it's meant to be how everyone's doing it now, I just think that honestly, partly that's Claude fanboyisms there. That's Claude just being the current sort of in thing. I have explored and done it in a Google Gem, which works exactly the same as a Google Claude project. And for me, the reason I chose to do it in a gem is because I believe, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe that Claude's context limit is 250,000 characters. That's plenty. I don't know whether that's per chat or per project, but a Google Gem has 1 million tokens, which is vastly more. So you'll be able to actually get a lot more prompting out of it before it loses its mind and hallucinates and goes off the rails and stops adhering to the instructions that you set. So I'm going to get into the instructions that you set for priming a Google Gem. And back when I am still an Ultra member. So that gave me accesses to a Gemini service called Deep Research. And what I was able to do with deep research was create these MD files, which are basically just text files that Google has researched for me. And what I wanted to do for my eventual move to a multi-model, multi-ecosystem workflow to test for the next month is, I'll see if I can just get it up on screen. Okay. So essentially what I wanted to do was create these architect or developer informed MD files. So I got Google Gemini to execute a deep research scrape of the official 11 Labs developer documentation and API ledgers. I tried doing this before, and it's like an 11 megabyte text file, which has so much information. It's basically got like as much text in it as the New York State Library. But essentially what I did was I went through all of the different ecosystems, so 11 Labs, Higgsfield, Flow, and then also the models that they use. So in the case of Higgsfield, I believe I'll be using Kling and Seed Dance as my primary video models there. 11 Labs for its audio features like generating sound effects. I should actually be on the screens of the things, but yeah. So 11 Labs for doing stuff like voices, flows, and other functionality. So it does music and sound effects and stuff as well. That's new, I guess. And in Higgsfield, I'm going to be using most probably, if I go to video, there's so much here. I'm probably going to be using Kling and Seed Dance. Those are the two, I think, that are the current meta for getting cinematic stuff. No, it looks pretty cool. It looks great. And then of course I got it to do a deep research. That's the 11 Labs, the Gemini and VO API deep dive. I had to kind of, it wasn't easy getting it to do this deep research. It kind of, the instructions really had to be quite specific about what to do and to then provide me with all the API structures, which I then put into a NotebookLM. So the workflow for priming your gem, like it's a Claude project file, is to take your MD files. So here are the MD files. So that's the one for Gemini VO 3.1 and Nano Banana. There's the 11 Labs one. I literally got the deep research done the night before Google Flow dropped its Omni announcement, and I'm like, oh great, I have to run the research again. So I've managed to get like an addendum, an additional architecture text file into a notebook as well. I've got the Higgsfield as well. So if I open up an MD file, open with text file, other, let's go text file, text edit, open, you'll see that it's formatted us a nice little text file here with instructions on which model to invoke and where to find its instructions. How to actually architect your prompt. So if I'm going to give you an example of how this works now, I'll go to the one that I primed for the project that I'm not really allowed to talk to. So some of the stuff might be censored to some degree. so long as I'm not giving away too much about brand, IP, all that kind of stuff. But what I can do is I can show you how I'm currently using the gem, and how I'm doing, how my process flows on from that. Okay, so I've adjusted the name of the gem, and I've removed any possible, breaches of branding and confidentiality. This is, again, for information purposes. Here I've given it a name. I've said, hey, you're my prompt architect, and I've basically got a massive instruction here, which I used a Google chat to help me form based on my needs to set up a production flow. So I basically told it, here's my workflow. In my NotebookLM, I have, let's say, a client brief package. I have some reference material that I found that I've also linked to a NotebookLM. So I've got the brief and, let's say, a story. I did a deep research on a project, which I used to develop styles, researching environments and characters, and I used my funny little trick that I showed you earlier in NotebookLM about developing a script or a story for this project, and it was really good. It was awesome. And like I said, I had to pull out because unfortunately the video model failed me, and it's not really going to be something that I'm going to be and it's not really going to be something that I'm going to be able to do in the time I've been given. Not for lack of trying, but I was up until about 3 or 4 in the morning, just trying to get the scene finished, and I had to kind of sit there and think, you know what, it's just unfortunately due to the tools that it's no longer worth my time pursuing this, because it's just not going to look the way I want it to, and I'm not getting through it fast enough, which is what spurred me on to actually trying to use the agent in the first place, just to say, look, if I can't get a trained prompt engineer made by you, Google, to get your own prompts right and to get around your ridiculous policy violations, then this is a dead end. I'm at the end of my tether. Regardless, I've given it the extremely large instruction set, so video model recommendation. Once the image reference is approved, I explicitly advise the user of the optimal model for the animated shot and briefly explain why. Omni Flash for fluid, establishing shots requiring strict spatial continuity and environmental drifting. For heavy narrative scenes, cinematic lighting, and tight character performances, use VO 3.1. For Nano Banana 2 is for rapid previsualization and blocking. Higgsfield for high fidelity cinematic realism, density, environmental textures, complex human micro expressions. That's interesting. So Kling 3.0 supposedly will be better for performances. Seed Dance 2 for physics-based kinetic camera motion, rapid UI interactions, dialing a modem or typing code, complex fluid dynamics and fast rendering of mechanical actions. Cool. 11 Labs, Omni Human 1.5, for dialogue, emotion, acoustics, friction and lip sync. So apparently what you can do in 11 Labs is you can, once you've got a video, and like the wooden, imperfect character voices that I was getting in Flow in the example that I showed you in my uncut test. You can use 11 Labs Lip Sync to upload that video with a voice performer that you want, and basically drive it like an additional dialogue recording session, an ADR session, where we would traditionally just hire in an actor to come back for a day, read a bunch of lines, because, you know, now that we have the edit, we have the full picture, the context, the flow, the feeling. Some of these things weren't clear on the day. We need a little bit of a louder hello, my name is, you know, that kind of stuff, like better enunciation. Maybe the performance we had was far enough away, or the, you know, there were some dialogues that we needed to change just to change the tone of a scene. Instead of I'm going to get him, it's like I will find him. You know, those kind of things. So lip sync is actually really good for exactly that. You take your video, you upload it to 11 Labs, and it will, so long as it's front on, not too sideways, so long as you can see the lips clearly enough, it will patch new sync mouth and dialogue to your video for your character talking. I don't know how it'll work with multiple characters. So I guess I've rambled on enough about the Google Gem. You can see that just where I'm circling here, I've got a NotebookLM, which I use to prime the gem. I disable knowledge citations because when you ask it to give you your prompts or give it your workflow, it will add like little +1, +2 referring to which document and which little citation it's made from the NotebookLM. So I don't need that. I just need to copy paste it once I've told it what I want and need. So yeah. So what I'm thinking I might do is I might actually modify these gem instructions. And I saw on YouTube that there is a place where I can upload files. And I don't know if that's a method for being able to actually give you guys the .md files, you know, the deep researched model prompting architecture primers. To put them, you can put them into Claude if you want. If that's the way you want to go, put them in there. Or if you want to build them in a Google Gem, that's the direction I've decided to go with it. They're basically the same thing, but maybe they're better at some things than the other one is better at. So, you know, who knows? But at the end of the day, it's all the same. The reason I'm not pursuing this whole, you know, I'm going to create a Claude script and all that sort of stuff is, or try to use like an app that someone else built, is that I know that they say that it's a great way to save money on your tokens, but I am a firm believer in just doing one thing at a time. Just do one character, then do your environment, then make your shots, then your image rather, then go to a light video. Oh, okay, so I can see that it was all good up until here. Now I've got a problem in video. Same, coming back to what we were talking about in storyboards, is that as an image, it's a key shot. It looks great. That's what I want. As a video, completely different and wrong interpretation. So then you tweak the video. I need to change this about the video to make it, you know, to fill in the gaps, the visual narrative. And then once you get that right, up it again, and that's the quality render that I need for my final product. So, where was I? So I'm going to see if I can give you a generic version of this gem instruction. And I will see if I can upload you the .md text files, which give you the prompting architecture. You can open them up in text editor, or you can upload them to your Google Gem or your Claude and just say, hey, is there anything nefarious in here? Is there anything here that is harmful? Before you use it. I'm giving this to you in good faith. It's for educational purposes. I'm going to have to blur, sorry about this, I'm going to have to blur some of this stuff out. I renamed it to generic, but there is some information here, but essentially the blurred stuff is the stuff that relates to the project that I'm not really supposed to mention or talk about. But as you can see, you've got, call it the research materials that I did. Like I said, I did a Google deep research on the project, its story. I got it to develop a pitch for a script and everything. And then I primed the same notebook with all of the prompt architecture information, the MD files that prime the gem, and that was what I linked to the gem, because NotebookLM is like it puts your. I think that's the advantage that it has over Claude. You will be able to put about 1 million tokens of information in here, and Claude won't be able to get that much into it. And the way that the way that the Google Gem is going to be able to invoke this notebook will not be native in Claude. So again, horses for courses. If you want to go down the Claude path, you do you. That's the meta. That's what everyone's raving about. I haven't personally done a full deep dive into that process, and it might be better. Might be good for some things. But again, I think that there's a bit of a, everyone loves Claude, and I'm not saying that it's not great, but I don't think that it's the only solution to what we're doing. And these are the reasons that I've found that I like for my use cases and my purposes. The other cool thing is that once you've got all your research in there, you can do an audio overview. You can get it to give you a criticism of your work. You can get it to do mind maps, reports. I think that NotebookLM is a powerhouse for anyone who is working on a project. I think that it can give you so much more efficiency, research, structure. For me, I'm probably going to take this video, my scatterbrain video, and grab a transcript and throw it into a NotebookLM and see if I can actually give it some kind of a structure. But I digress. I'm just going to quickly deviate to one funny little anecdote and side quest about other uses and applications of Google Flow. So my little side quest chat and conversation, by the way, about other use cases for Google Flow or generative video models in general. It doesn't matter which one you use. As you can see, this was September 21. I don't know if this was last year. I think it was probably last year. So Google VO was still sort of early days. And weirdly, I was having a WhatsApp chat on my phone with a friend of mine, and she said, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting a new business. I want it to be this beauty salon, this boutique beauty salon, and sort of beauty parlor where girls can go and feel comfortable. There'll be like a bar where they can have some drinks and nibblies, cakes and sandwiches, have a bit of a social sort of, get to know each other, chat, have it be like a place where girls can hang out and just kind of get their beauty stuff done." And I said to my friend, all right, well, and keep in mind, I'm doing this on my phone on a WhatsApp chat, and I had the Flow app installed on my phone. And I said, all right, well, why don't you explain it to me what it looks like? What is this place? So aside from, you know, what I told you, I said, you know, what does it look like? And she said, well, I want it to be like pink and girly, and I want a particular shape of mirror, and I want it to have really tall iron windows, and I want chandeliers, is what she said. And so I don't know if I still have the image references. They might be in here somewhere. And so I generated a bunch of image references on my phone, which I don't think I have. Can I check my trash? Yeah. I lost the image references from my phone. But it was pretty cool because I was able to use Nano Banana to modify the image references to her liking. You know, she's like, oh, I don't like the round windows, I don't like the round mirrors. I want the square mirrors. The windows look lovely, they're very tall, the chandeliers look nice, you know, or, you know, I want the place where they're hanging out to be a little bit different. And I sent her the pictures, and she said, this is great, this is awesome, this is pretty much, you know, kind of visualizes my dream. And I said, oh, wow, you know, well, Google have released this video model. Let me see if I can animate these things with real people in them. And she was blown away when I sent her the videos. She said, oh my goodness, if I send, or, you know, so this kind of becomes a bit of you know, this could be a potential business idea for people to be able to do. For people who don't really know about AI or prompting, and they're not computer people, but they are business people and they have an idea, they want to be able to sell that idea to an investor or get a loan from a bank, then what you can do, and this took, you know, these videos here, even though they're unedited, at the time I was using, you know, the text to video Google model. So at the time, I would say, you know, it was probably like 9 p.m. I was in bed on WhatsApp. I had the Flow app on my phone, and, you know, I spent a couple of hours in my bed before I went to sleep, just knocking out a bunch of video examples of this dream business idea that my friend had. That she said, I can take this to the bank, because the bank will say, how does your vision, how does your salon or your beauty house differ from any other nail parlor in any other city in the world? And now I think the game is changing for a small business person or a startup to be able to say, well, this is the visualization of my business. This is my dream realized. And, you know, this chick is not going to be hacking midair with a straight razor, but so look, it's possible that if there are people out there who want to be able to start a business and be able to get the best possible sales pitch for a loan, and to be able to show their idea, as opposed to just having to explain it to someone who maybe doesn't have the imagination, the time, or the ability to comprehend what it is that you're trying to communicate. Alternatively, you might not be very good at communicating your vision. You can just say, you know, my fast food takeaway place is going to differ from all the rest because they're going to look like this. You know, here's my vision. This is what I want to create. And maybe you'll have, you know, this could just be a business idea for people to be able to, you know, get a decent amount of money for a couple of hours work. Maybe a little bit more if you want to add some music and some some production value to it. Maybe make it a little bit more like a commercial. Then you can offer different packages for this kind of a business idea. I thought it was a pretty interesting potential way to explore a different kind of use case for AI video making. It's a commercial purpose. You could do demonstration videos of architectural designs. You go to an architect and say, "Hey, man, let's put some people in this house. Let's properly visualize the dream home that the office block. Put this building that this architect has designed into this space of the city and show how it looks, rendered as a video." I think that there are a lot of interesting applications in how we can use this technology to help other people, and potentially, make a bit of start a business for yourself, offering this as a service. Okay, I digressed here. So I've discussed my little project. The only thing I didn't really finish discussing was how I was sort of vibing with the agent to get shots that I wanted. And it was pretty good because it was able to just take a bunch of references, like the same way that you would add an ingredient. You can highlight a bunch of clips and you can see it sort of adds it to the prompt as ingredients, but they're not really ingredients for generating a video. They're ingredients for the agent to decide how it wants to use those ingredients to get what you want. So I'm just going to give you a live example here of what are a couple of things that were bugging me from last night with my little video here. So the wheels aren't moving in that shot. I tried fixing it yesterday, and maybe that's something that we can try to play with fixing in an agent session. This is all fine, I'm okay. This guy's running a little bit too slow, like he slows down. So if I play him, he starts fast and then he slows down. But these are all things that once you pop a soundtrack on there, throw in some sound effects, you'll accept it. That shot there, while it's a cool shot, what it's missing is once we sort of pass over the vehicle, he's in the top third of the frame too much. I want the camera to be able to pan up and reveal where it is that he's going. So I had to find a creative solution, which is just to cut to boom, that. Let's see if we can get the agent to fix this shot where the wheels should be spinning. And here's a live example of me having a conversation with the agent now. So I'm going to select so you can see the previous versions that I was trying to get. I was trying to get it to add golden hour lighting, but it's added it as a spotlight. And that was the original, like, bright white and blue, which isn't bad as a design kind of thing. It's high contrast, this is a blue line, this is a white line, and this is the contrasting image of the hero in silhouette. As a design thing for like a high contrast, simple color scheme commercial, let's say, it's really cool. It's just it started to get less consistent as I was going, and I just wanted to kind of go through and relight the thing, and then I thought, it would be nice to actually have like a golden sunset. So visually, this frame is more striking, sharp, clear, intentional. It starts to get a little bit murky here, but more cinematic. So it's a style choice. You know, it's here, it looks a little bit sort of like faded and washed out, but the lighting's really beautiful. It's very cinematic, very nomad land. Here it kind of goes back to that white and blue kind of motif. So I found a middle ground here, but of course, there's always one thing. There's always one thing that goes wrong. There's always the one detail that I just can't let go. And for 90% of people, they're just going to say, "Oh, who cares? Move on. It's not worth the token. It's not worth the credits." But I can't let it go. I can't. Once I've seen it, I can't unsee it, and it has to be fixed. So I'm going to say this video is looking great. Please don't change anything else about it, but please have the wheels of the F1 race car spinning or animated accurately to its motion. So it's going to have a think. I haven't told it to use any models. I've got default settings for Nano Banana and Omni, but we'll just see what it does. So it says, I'm going to refine your video to accurately animate the racing car's wheels spinning, coming to a stop, ensuring no other elements of the scene are changed. So it should keep the lighting, should keep everything the same. I'm going to approve that. It's going to cost me 40 credits. That's going to be really painful once I drop down to the lower tier. Now what I have noticed with the agent here is if you do the majority of your prompting in the agent here, and depending on what you ask it for, especially for fixes, tweaks and changes, especially if you call out that there are hallucinations and problems with the render, and I don't know if it's just the remix function of it. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm currently on an ultra tier subscription. I don't know the reasons why, but I did see that on occasion it would not charge me for fixes. So if I just said, you know, this is no good, here are the problems that I've got, please make these updates and changes to fix the shot, it actually told me it's charging me 0 tokens or credits. So there might be something in there, in that, if you decide to try and just vibe prompt through the agent. Something else that I've got to sort of play with and test at some point is whether I can take a script, throw it in there, and have it actually generate the prompts for me. I think that's the other video that I've got to move on to doing, which is to test the storyboarding tool that's in there. So let's see if the wheels are moving. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah. Let me make that bigger for anyone that's looking at my little screen. Okay. And then yeah. So then, and like I said, there's always one thing. There's always one thing that just goes wrong. It's added the shell logo on there. Naughty, naughty Google. So that's. I've got so this might be a good way to see if I get charged for its mistake. But here at least the wheels are moving. They're spinning. They're motion blurred, and then you can kind of see them coming to a stop. And then of course it's hallucinated the dickens out of text logos and other stuff, which is not allowed. You know, I don't want Shell coming after me. They're a big oil company. So the video you gave me has hallucinated logos and text and Shell Oil Company logo. I'm going to get touchy with it. All I needed was the animated wheels spinning. Let's see if it interprets this. It should be smart enough to actually understand what it is that I'm suggesting. Animated wheels. So all I needed was the animated wheels spinning. Please fix the shot. It might have been helpful for me to actually give it the vehicle. See, so it's done something here. So I'm going to generate a refined edit of the video, focus exclusively on the animating the wheels spinning and stopping while ensuring the car remains completely free of any logos or text branding. Cool. Is it still going? It's still thinking. It's deleted the video that it created before. I don't know if it's hung at the moment, as in if it's just stopped. Cancel request because it's obviously just not responding. I'm going to give it this again. And yeah, so what I've been doing a lot of is reporting, flagging outputs as being inaccurate. The categories are very basic, but I say it's inaccurate when I find a problem. You know, you've done this wrong. You shouldn't have done that. This is a hallucination. It's shit, basically. Yeah, here we go. So look at this. Would you like me to kick off this one video generation costing 0 credits? So that's nice. I don't know if you get that if you don't use the agent. So I'm going to approve it, but let's see if it actually does it right. At least the AI feels guilty about wasting my credits. So that's nice. Okay, let's see what it's done. I'm going to go full screen here. We'll play. And there's always one thing that it gets wrong. So the vehicle, perfect. The wheels are spinning. I would probably be very careful of what text it's putting on there. Ferrari. Not sure if that's allowed, Google, and it's lost the driver from the front seat. So I'm going to be touchy with it again. Much better, but still wrong. You've removed the driver from the vehicle and you've added Ferrari logo or branding, Ferrari branding on the wheels / tires. Please fix without changing anything else. Praying. I'm going to generate for 0 credits again. Hopefully that is the guilt. Unacceptable. Unfortunately, this is shit. Pardon the language. I'm going to keep the Ferrari wheels because that's as good as I can get it. Ferrari, don't sue me. This is free advertising for you. Because that was as good as I can get it. And it's disappointing. I mean, it's just, look, the technology is amazing. What I can do with it is really awesome, but it's just, frustrating when I'm trying to make something that's pretty simple, and this thing just hallucinates like Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Oh, I'm going to make one update or small video portion to the earlier, uncut workflow video that I made before. It seems to be pretty popular video. Again, I apologize for the poor audio quality. I'm working on it. I make one small change every day to make an improvement, or at least try to learn or adapt one thing every day, just to learn and grow. And that was a philosophy that was told to me by a CEO of a company I worked for back in Australia. And his name is Didier. Hey Didier, in case you ever watch this video. But he loved giving these great sort of talks about companies and businesses and people and how good managers and all that kind of stuff. Like really cool dude. But he told a story about the guy who ran Toyota, and he told all of his factory workers and all these people, he just said, look, every day that you're at work, or as often as you can, think about one small improvement that you can make to your work area or your actual workflow that can make one positive change, even if it's a small thing, even if it means moving this filing cabinet a couple of inches that way because it gives easier access without bumping or risk of having to move your body. That's one small improvement. And if you make enough of those little improvements every day on every level of your workflow, business, people, all that kind of stuff, then in a year you'll have made a tremendous amount of improvement in every facet of what you're doing. I can't let it go. I cannot let it go. I'm not going to say much, but I'm going to say still wrong. You removed the driver from the vehicle, you added Ferrari branding to the wheels, tires. Please keep everything about the shot as it is. Just remove the text from the wheels and put the driver in the vehicle and do what I asked. Please just have the wheels in motion with the vehicle arriving in position. Pray. And this is what I was going through, like 20 times worse, just trying to get a guy to post a postcard. And it was like the most generic shot you could possibly think of. And that was my I quit moment. I can't do this for you. I can't do this with Google Veil. Like you literally cannot do the simplest shot in cinema history. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty tired. It's been a long day and some late nights solving all the crap that I've been talking about today. Okay, let's see if this is any better. Let's go full screen so you can all see. Yeah, okay, I saw it. I can't unsee it. Oh, it's so annoying. If anyone else didn't spot it, if I go here, see, rip, the tail thing. Maybe that's a mechanical thing that actually is part of an F1 vehicle. I don't know that it is. I think they're usually meant to be pretty solid. Oh, so annoying. not worth it. I'm going to move on, but at least the wheels are spinning, and that makes me happy. I'm maybe in edit because I have like a previous version of it where that is correct. Maybe I can do a split screen, and that'll fix it. Like take two failures and combine them into one non-failure. So welcome to my frustration. Even though I said don't change anything else, it just can't help itself. Yeah, so I want to make an amendment to my last video, the uncut long workflow deep dive, whatever you want to call it. And it was about character creation. I'm going to use the agent to help me here to create a character because I figured out the straightforward and easy way to create characters, and I'm sure someone else has probably already made a video about this now, but if you happen to be here watching this and it's your first time, then welcome, and I'm very privileged to be able to bring this information to you. So if I use my agent and I say, okay, give me, I'll say, okay, I want to create a new character for my project. Let's make it, what? For the hell of it, let's make it a stop motion Wes, this might get me into trouble, Wes Anderson style animal. What kind of animal? Let's go for dragon, why not? A stop motion animation style dragon. So let's see what it does just with that kind of instruction. Because I think this is kind of useful for like, how does the VO agent work? So it's going to cost me 0 credits. Would you like me to kick off these 3 image generations? So I'm going to generate 3 distinct character concepts for a stop-motion dragon puppet in the style of Wes Anderson to explore different personalities and textures. Okay. Yeah, you know, it's kind of cool. Don't know about the one that's standing on the little plinth there. This one looks a little bit too... They look a little bit too toy plush-like, but I assume that that's also because they are a very specific style that is not really allowed to explore. Can these stop motion puppets, I think it's maybe because I call them puppets, be more I don't know if animatronic's the right word. There's like a skeleton more like the ones designed for stop motion movies, with articulated limbs. Yeah, because I couldn't describe it, or I didn't know the technical, like, maybe I can just vibe with it. So now it's considering different aesthetics. Deleted, deleted, deleted. I imagine that it's deleting it from its own context memory before it creates new ones. And that's kind of interesting because I think what that means is that it's not going to get polluted by old data. This one's no good because he's on a thing, but that's okay, probably. This one looks like he's like one of those old 1990s wrestler toys. It's got those funny exposed joints. Let's go for this one. This is a nice looking dragon. I think that's probably fine just for this example. Again, I could nitpick, but I don't want to go there. So let's say, So I have to select the image, and I'll say, okay, this one looks like it will work. I want to make a character asset for him in the flow character tool now. So what do I need? I know what I need. I need a portrait, right? The portrait is what I'm going to have to upload for image number 1 for the character. And then I'm going to need the triptych image, which is the full body front 3/4 reverse or from behind. And then a description of the clothes that the dragon is going to be wearing. But let's see how the agent can guide someone like, just who's new to this through it. So it says here, to create a robust character asset in the flow tool, you'll need a few key components to ensure consistency across the future generations. Reference images, 3 to 5 images, 3D structure. So you can do it. You can do it with 2, you can do it with 3 or more, up to 5, I guess, but the portrait is the first step. I can help you to build these materials right now. Would you like me to generate a character sheet with several different angles, front, profile, back? So once we have those, so no, I don't want it to do that, because what we need first is we need the portrait, and then we're going to get the character tool to generate the rest. So I just need the portrait front on for the flow character creation tool, and the tool will prompt the rest, but please give me the triptych prompt of this character, so that I can copy paste in what I need from it in the character asset tool. Rolling my eyes. So the reason I'm doing it this way is because I want to be able to embed it into the character so that I can invoke it. So I can say @dragon is doing this in the shot. Because if because then I can give it a voice, I can do a bunch of other stuff, I can give it personality. Here is the triptych. Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's given me the prompts, but it hasn't generated the profile. Thank you. Please now give me a front portrait image of the dragon. And actually, it's not bad that I have that image as a general style image of how his body looks. Because without it, it'll probably generate a new body and outfit for him. It's probably fine. I think they've got to be a little bit more like a portrait, but it'll be fine. Let's take this. I'm going to copy that. I don't think I'll need it except for the character's clothes, like description of his wardrobe. So if we go to characters now, and I want to create a new character, and I've got my little add to prompt, and I'm going to describe the character, which is in the prompt that I copied before, what I'm going to do is, what we need to do is say, a movie grade stop motion dragon in the style of Wes Anderson. The dragon is a scholarly character with a long neck, small wings, wearing a miniature corduroy vest. That I think will come later in part 2 of the character creation, but it's fine. And bar spectacles. Puppet. So in fact, now that we've given it its first thing, I'm going to add that other image here as well. And we're using Nano Banana 2 because that one is, call it less creative, more technical, so it should be able to adhere to the instruction better. So it's kept to it pretty well. It's added a background and all that kind of stuff. That's okay, probably. So now here's where it gets interesting. This is the bit that we want to sort of I was doubling up a lot in this process. Full body blah blah blah. So that's the prompt of what it needs, and describe the body and outfit. So if I go shift return return, remember to shift return return. I'm going to grab a description of his outfit. That. Hit the play button. That's pretty cool. I like it. It's added text to the bottom. I don't know if that's a problem. I'm hoping not. I suspect that it has the potential to that. Well, with the new model, hopefully that's all rectified now. But let's call him Wes Dragonson, like Wes Anderson, but the dragon version of Wes Anderson. There you go, Wes Anderson. I'm a fan. You're a dragon. And we're just going to hit the done button. Let's select a voice for him. It'll just be generic, whatever. Generic Arcade, add to character, boom.
Hi there.
Hi there. Yeah, you know what, weirdly, kind of don't mind it. Kind of suits him as a friendly little dragon. I'm not going to go into his character stuff. We covered that in a previous video. Let's say done. So now let's call on Wes to read his book about dragons. Give me a video shot. And I don't mind this. Let's just add it as a prompt, add to prompt. Give me a video shot of @Wes Dragonson reading his book about dragons out loud to himself. Then he looks at camera, breaking the fourth wall. Let's see how it interprets a fourth wall break, which is where you look directly at the camera breaking from the scene. So you're the fourth wall, first, second, third wall, and when you break the fourth wall, you notice the audience shock. Breaking the fourth wall to say, oh, hello there. Let's just see what happens. Wes Dragonson. Let's see how it animates him. Actually, I'm curious, like if it'll do it as stop motion or if I need to specify that it needs to be stop motion. So it's gonna. Oh man, I'm burning the credits today.
The Western sky scale is known for its remarkable and resilient hide. Oh, hello there.
Okay. This would have been really cool back when I was actually trying to make text to video kids stories about Wally Wombat and Kid Koala and all that sort of stuff. This is amazing. Front on angle, I preferred the composition that we had in the 3/4 of him there. I would like for him to be sort of turning to camera, but these now are all things that you can kind of edit in the prompt, change the angle, make it more like the reference picture I uploaded you, 3/4, he's reading his book, turns to the camera. These are all things that can be adjusted and edited, hopefully at a lower cost than the original generation. All right. So if you want to basically watch this whole thing through, treat it like a podcast, back of the, while you're working, while you're doing something, I don't know, feel free just to kind of listen through it all, tune back into the video when you hear something that might sound interesting. Otherwise, this is the sound of my voice. And I'm going to get you a breakdown, a number of broken down edits of this whole thing, because I'm quite scatterbrained, so I jump around topic to topic quite a bit, and I might need to try and get some structure and get you guys more concentrated information in pieces, rather than just jumping around from node to node without any real direction. Cool. Thanks for listening. Thanks for staying. Thanks for subscribing. Like, subscribe, whatever. I really appreciate that. I've got some new people who have subscribed. I'm getting some nice number of views. So thank you so much. And I will think about the next ones that I've got to give you. See you later. Bye. Thank you.